Hey guys, Fire here from InDepth Gaming, bringing you another game review. This time we're checking out Worms Rumble. This game is developed and published by Team 17 Software with additional publication help by Sold Out Sales and Marketing. The game released on June 23rd, 2021 for a price of $14.99. There's an additional bundle that provides extra content as well as the game is available on Xbox Game Pass. So let's talk about Worms Rumble. So far, I've had kind of mixed feelings about the game when I've been playing it. We have uploaded some game videos and just some random clips. As well. This is a different take on a traditional Worms games that have came out for the most part on the Xbox platform have been turn-based, just weapon shooting, kind of volleying, attacking one at a time. You're moving chess pieces on a destructible environmented board. For Worms Rumble, it brings up Worms into a battle royale slash team deathmatch kind of mechanic game where you can either just constantly move around while all the other worms are moving around and interacting and attacking everybody, or you'll be in this chaotic deathmatch battle royale style like you can see as we're loading into Last Worm Standing. Now, the game features crossplay as well as local just Xbox network play as well, and same for other platforms as well. So if you're on other platforms playing, you can restrict crossplay. Um, but you're kind of gonna struggle to find games if you're not crossplay enabled, and you're also gonna encounter a lot more players when you're not, or a lot more players that are a lot more skill based and higher up, as the game's been out on other platforms a little longer. PC's had the game for a little while, so it is definitely a little bit of a learning curve, and you almost feel sometimes like you're disadvantaged when you're playing. Now, game wise, there's not a lot of weapons that are really presented in the game. In the traditional Worms game, there's a good 20, 30 plus different weapons, but we're only getting, about 10 different weapons to choose from in the game, and even the ones to choose from, you're pretty much only going to focus on a handful of weapons, a bazooka for the most part, sheep launchers, grenades, and, shotgun. And that's pretty much going to be your key things that you're probably going to care about. Now, when you first load into games, you're going to get this kind of deployment menu. I do love this. I think this is a great, mechanic. I can pick where I spawn, and it's kind of limited based on what other players select. But for the most part, I'm going to spend a lot of my time on these maps that are maybe a little too big for the player counts that it actually loads in, that I'm going to have to just be running around trying to hope to find people. Now, when you do find other worms and encounter them, you're going to spend a lot of time just in these chaotic, fights that just don't, necessarily always pan out the way you think they're going to pan out. Now, as you can see here, I was fortunate enough to kill this guy. I also killed the other guy, not even really realizing that I did it. And that's kind of how a lot of your interactions or fights are going to go in this game. They're just going to be chaotic nonsenses while the map is slowly evolving and getting locked off and changed around you. Now, as the map changes and evolves, you're only going to be allowed to see a very small portion of that map, and most of the time you're going to spend your session going through just trying to find grenades and boxes that at times can be very hard to really locate anything in the game. The game does help you kind of track things in a sense of knowing where to move about and where everything is going to be at. As far as the indicators on the screen will tell you, hey, these are the zones to avoid, these are the zones to go into. But you're going to have to really figure out a lot of that on your own because the game doesn't really tutorially teach you how to do a lot of the navigating in multiplayer. A lot of the game is just going to be you really figuring it out. So I would expect to go into the first game or two just dying a lot and probably not succeeding really very much at all until you kind of get past that initial learning curve and really learn how to navigate around and really see what you can and can't do in the game. Um, Overall, though, it's not a bad game, but I highly recommend going into Worms Rumble when you have other people to play with and join you. If you're going into this game kind of on your own, I think you're going to have a little bit of a lackluster experience. Whereas if you have somebody to play it with, it's definitely going to make the game a lot more fun because you can kind of communicate and work together. Now, when you're playing with friends, you can kind of revive yourself, get rezzed, things like that. So you're not completely just locked out in those limitations. But a lot of what you're going to be doing is just going to be kind of really trying to find places to go to and probably failing a lot more than you're probably going to realize. Now, as you can see here in the fight that I'm currently in, unfortunately I do die, and that's going to be the chaotic nature of Once too many worms get together, it's going to be really hard to tell and figure out what's going on, as well as the unlock stuff in the game. Find anything that seems too amazing. It's all cosmetics, which I do enjoy. A lot of the cosmetics, to be honest, aren't really that good, and the ones that are good are locked behind paywalls. I don't feel like there's too many things to really work, as well as the level progression isn't really explained very well. It seems like all the levels are fairly static, and you just kind of have to grind toward everything. I think the biggest thing that you get to work toward is maybe trying to complete your 50 dailies, which alone are going to take you probably a good month to get through 50 dailies, when you're even forced to play game modes that you might not even enjoy, from team deathmatch to deathmatch. Um, and even when you're in these games, you're still in these giant maps with a very low player base for the size of the maps. And as you can see, like we're watching this guy here and spectating, it's very boring as you get later into those rounds. You know, Visually this game kills it. It's a Worms game. It looks great, but I think there's too much going on in a game where it needs more, but it's hard to say exactly what more it needs. I don't know if it's more player base or if it needs more well-defined maps that honestly aren't the size of an state that they feel like, or some way to introduce some of those other like abilities in the Worms game. Like why can't I just grab a blowtorch and burn a new path straight through the map? Stuff that makes Worms feel like Worms rather than feeling like it's trying to be something else. And those things that maybe we'll see in the future, I don't know. Maybe that's too hard for them to kind of implement in the game, but definitely that destructible environment. Just blowing up little pathway gates here doesn't really give me that, oh man, destroying Worms game vibe that I definitely yearn for and think is stuff that really makes the game what the game is. Outside of that, though, I definitely think the game it's fun. It's definitely worth trying and playing while it's on Xbox Game Pass. But I'd say at a price of $15, I'd wait for a sale. I don't think it's really worth it at that price point with really the options that are available right now. Outside of that, though, if I have to give the game any type of a rating, I'm probably looking at giving Worms Rumble about a 5 out of 10. You know, I hate giving it a number even that low, but with as much hype and kind of expectation that a Worms game presents to itself, I definitely feel like it's not meeting the expectations that it kind of sets for itself based on the prior history that the game has. If you do want to check out Worms Rumble, we do have a link down in the description. If you disagree or have a different opinion of the game, as always, let me know in the comments. I'd love to chat with you about it. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you all next time.